Hello, my name is Jefferson Seal. I'm the director of DWJD Ministries. Our purpose is to spread the good news regarding the gospel of Jesus Christ. You are viewing part 3 of a video series detailing the proof that mankind is living within the end times. If you haven't already done so, I urge you to go and view parts 1 and 2 of this series before watching this one. Then come back to this video. We've been talking about the evidence which forms the proof that we are the final generation of mankind. The portions of the Bible that pertain to the end times were essentially locked up in a code until the time was right. God didn't lock up the words themselves, but rather He locked up their meaning until the right generation of men came along and read them. By the way, I don't believe that the Bible itself was written for a few select religious men who were somehow given special power, thereby allowing them alone the capacity to decipher it. Rather, I believe the Bible is written as a manuscript for and to the common person. But contrary to somewhat popular belief, it isn't a simple storybook. If you've spent any time attempting to read the Bible, you probably understand that it's not an easy thing to do. There's a couple of good reasons for this. First of all, the Bible is written for those persons who are genuinely interested in learning the truth about God. This includes all followers of Jesus Christ, as well as those interested in possibly becoming believers. I further believe that any sincere person looking to glean knowledge from the Bible will be given whatever they need to find the knowledge of God which they are seeking. The Bible does promise that whoever seeks God will find Him. Take a look at 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 9. "And you, my son Solomon, acknowledge the God of your father, and serve Him with wholehearted devotion and with a willing mind. For the Lord searches every heart and understands every motive behind the thoughts. If you seek Him, He will be found by you." God's promise is there. Anyone who truly seeks God will find Him. But take special notice of the verb seek. The dictionary defines it as an action verb, to go in search of, to try to discover, to ask for, to try to acquire. The word requires definitive and intentional action. Also noticed in 1 Chronicles chapter 28, verse 9, that God is being very specific here about His requirements to teach us. He requires wholehearted devotion coupled with a willing mind. Thus, if we are of sincere heart and willing mind, only then will God give us the knowledge we are seeking. So what about the code? As I said earlier, God didn't insert some cryptic code within the pages of the Bible, making the words of Revelation undecipherable until a future time. No, the words themselves are ordinary in every way. They do carry meaning, but the true meaning would remain hidden until the right generation read them. My thought is this: the Bible was written for any person of sincere heart and willing mind who is searching to discover what God is saying. It's exactly the same for the book of Revelation. The exception is that only the final generation reading it would have the words unlocked. God is telling us that we would be able to interpret the signs of prophecy only if we were living in the correct time. Just as sitting in a class for which you aren't prepared would seem like a mystery, so has biblical prophecy remained until just recently. God knew that the signs of the end times would become clear for the final generation. All that's required is to be part of it. Well, congratulations. You're one of the members of the last generation on earth. Let's now take a look at the first of the 12 exciting prophecies, rapid global travel. When God gave the prophecies to Daniel, He also tacked on a couple of clues as to when the words of prophecy would be unsealed. The first clue God gave to Daniel was that many will go back and forth. Look now at Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. "But as for you, Daniel, conceal these words and seal up the book until the end of time. Many will go back and forth." It sounds simple enough, but breaking down the words used into their actual definition gives the real meaning of the verse. The Hebrew word for many is ravim, which means exceedingly, abounding in, or more numerous than. So we get the idea that a whole lot of folks are going to be traveling around, going here and there. The words go back and forth comes from a single Hebrew word, yeshuteto. It means literally to run to and fro quickly. Remember that the prophecy was made 2,500 years ago. In that time, horseback was the fastest mode of human travel, just as it had been for the vast majority of human history. While a horse can run at about 45 miles an hour, it can only maintain top speed at most for a couple of miles. Modern quarter horses can reach speeds of 55 miles an hour, but only over a distance of 440 yards. Clearly, horseback does not fulfill the prophecy of Daniel chapter 12, verse 4. In order for the prophecy to reflect a relevant change, there has to be a quantum jump in mass human mobility. The idea of moving large numbers of people quickly to and fro, therefore, had to wait until the arrival of the mechanized age. Most people think of the automobile when they think of machinery. While the automobile was invented in the late 1800s, it did not reach large numbers, 15 million, until the 1920s. And in fact, there were very few decent roads on which to drive smoothly and quickly until the 1930s. The average citizen across the globe could not afford an automobile until the early 1950s. The same thing can be said for the early railroads. They serviced limited areas and didn't really move all that many people. The remnants of gearing up for war production left over from World War II was what powered the explosion of the consumer goods revolution. Modern ships can move large numbers of people, but at speeds of only 45 miles an hour. And ships are limited to sailing over water, which restricts their service to ports along rivers and coastlines. These machines, in my opinion, are not able to completely fulfill the prophecy of Daniel. The apparatus which perfectly fits the bill is the airplane. The modern large transport airplane wasn't built until 1948, the same year the nation of Israel was reborn. The design of these passenger aircraft followed the development of large bombers, which were built for World War II. The result was that the true airline operations could begin. Passenger jet travel came along in 1958. The modern jet airliner travels at speeds of over 500 miles an hour. That is over 100 times faster than a long-duration trip on horseback. And a person can literally fly just about anywhere on the planet within a single day. Contrast that fact with society back in 1900, when the average person rarely traveled beyond their county, state, or province. From a modest start in 1948, right up until today, airline travel now covers the entire globe with over 55,000 regularly flown routes. It's estimated that in 2015, over 3.5 billion passengers were flown by the airlines. At any given moment, there are over 2,200 flights airborne all over the globe, traveling between nearly all countries and cities. The cost of a ticket is well within the reach of a large portion of the public. I realize that most of the world's population has not flown in an aircraft, but for the first time in history, I believe that transportation technology has met the true definition of the prophecy, a quantum increase in the total number, speed, and distance men travel. Many people now trek back and forth all over the globe in all manner of planes, trains, and automobiles. I also don't think that this mobility revolution starting in 1948 is a coincidence, and the pace of people moving rapidly to and fro is still increasing daily. Clearly, for the first time in history, large numbers of people can travel at hundreds of miles per hour, over thousands of miles, in a single trip. There can be no denying that this first prophecy, a global quantum increase in travel, has been met. And in the whole of human history, now is the first time such a change in the ability of men to travel has taken place. Keep this fact in mind as we continue to cover the other signs of prophecy, marking the fact that we are in the end times. And don't forget to order a copy of the book, The Time is Near and God Will Prove It. It's less than $20 delivered right to your door. And it is the perfect companion to have while viewing these videos. Well, that's all for part 3. Please remember to tell everyone you know that we are living in the end times and to watch these videos. This has been Jefferson Seal. Until next time, in His name and for His glory, amen.